so that we understand, you know, the purpose of what we're doing. And this is not to mean that I think you should do exactly what we do, but I'm just going to give you the reasons why we do these things. So when we play, we have 6 basic one-handed exercises, right? And I think we tend to go through these a lot, you know, pretty much daily. We don't sometimes have time for all of them, but they're done in a logical way. In other words, we play 8s just like everyone else. We play a double beat exercise. And then we play a triple beat exercise. The reason that we play it in that order is because we go from basically rebounded and loose to more control throughout it. In other words, the next 3 exercises we do would be those same exercises with a controlled pack in between. So we play this next. This one. This one. So if there's any basic fundamental thing that you should probably repeat and do over and over again, it should be those 6 exercises. All right? So once again, it's 8s. And then those same exercises with an accent control in between. Right? And there's obviously a million variations. The next things that we do, not necessarily in order, but we do a million timing exercises. How to negotiate rest, right? How to actually feel the beat together. How to make sure people feel the beat. All right, so can we do some time exercises? Can I teach you some things by rote and use them? Let's try this one. Sim 2-4. So basically we're taking out the left hand, taking out the right hand. We're trying to all of a sudden sort of insert some rest in there. Right? So. Got it? 2 squats, 1 squat. Ready? That we do, at least just for us, we mark time. And we don't usually sort of bob our knees. We actually sort of flat-foot it. 1/4 of an inch off the ground, we flat-foot so that nobody can fake what they're doing. So that I'm convinced that I know what they're playing. All right? Let's try it again. That exercise backwards. So instead of what we just did, it would be this. Got it? Seems simple, but it will feel slightly different, right? It's not the same. It's the same material, but just in different orders. Ready? now reversed. Okay, so we have forward, backwards, reversed. Right? Reverse means take the business and switch it with the check pattern. Right? So we can start like this. Got it? It becomes confusing. Now, wait. What weight do we drop in all sorts of triplets and fivelets to do this with that? So the point of these kind of exercises is to expose yourself to as many variations as you can come up with, so that when you get the music, it seems kind of normal to you, right? So this is a very, very simple example of what you can do to a very short, simple exercise, right? So reverse, straight, right? What that ends up doing is building strength in your whole memory in terms of the order of rhythms, right? It's like building blocks. You got different colored building blocks, you can move them all around, so that it actually helps with memorization. It helps with how you connect opposite rhythms together, and it does the world of good, right? How about backwards reverse? But right now you're going, wait a minute, I can't attack on the E of 1, right? You're saying, what exercise has me attack on the E of 1? Just trust it. Just feel the beat. Figure out how to create a space, and you feel it, and you play it on the E. So I count off, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. You just got to guess, and you got to be right. Ready? So, you got to figure out how to believe that you know where that beat is. Now we can do all of that off the left. Okay? So I'm just trying to make a point of the fact that we have that short little exercise, and we just did straight up, right? Then backwards, and then reverse, straight, reverse, backwards, off the left, straight, forward, off the left, backwards. Off the left, reversed, forward, off the left, backward, reversed. So you got eight variations on that very simple thing. We have triplet exercises that literally have 50 variations of them. And you know what? I'm telling you this for a fact, and Matt can either back me up. Everybody in the line can play all of them. In other words, which came first, the chicken or the egg? The fact that you could play all that led you to be in the group, or being in the group made you play all that. You see what I mean? Either way, the fact is, everyone from the bottom bass drummer to the end quad guy can all play all of that. It's an indicator, and I'm telling you, and I'm saying this to be inspiring to you, it's the fact that you understood everything that I did, right? There was nothing that I did that was like, man, I got to understand what 7 against 4 is. Nothing had anything to do with that. It all was absolutely fundamental, basic. But the fact is that we actually go through the pain of doing that. right? A long time ago, someone said there is no true knowledge without experience. I can explain to you how to do this stuff all I want, but until you go through the pain of doing it, physically playing it, right? Then you won't truly know how to do it. You'll just understand how it's supposed to go. You won't understand how to do it, right? So we actually take the time. This is, once again, in the realm of 500 exercises that you never want to play in public, right? But this is kind of what we spend all of our time doing, so that when we get in the music, that we can do that, no problem at all. It becomes just another thing that we can do. All right? So we are so thorough and well-rounded. Right? Can we do the same thing with triplets? So that exercise Matt and I played, can we do that together? So 4 counts. Like you're a lot of times the music that you're going to play in band is kind of faster. So a lot of the rhythms that you're going to be playing are triplets, even the triplets, much of the time, right? A lot of rolls, a lot of things are triplets, right? So we're doing 4 counts, and then we're taking the left hand out. What is left is 3 against 2, and then we're going to do the exact opposite, right? It's not understanding the exercise, right? It's actually thinking about other things. The accuracy, the quality, whether you're, not breaking any rules, whether, you know what I'm saying? Like, I could easily, what happens now is I can easily pass out an exercise that's 2 minutes long in 15-16. That goes to 7-8, that goes to 3, you know what I mean? I could easily do that, but you know what you spend half your time doing when you do that is trying to remember the exercise. You're trying to, trying to figure out how to play in 15-16 or in 7-8, or, you know what I mean? That's time spent that you're not spending on whether your right hand is even with your left hand, right? Fundamentally speaking, how loud you're playing. Are you playing with the guy next to you, right? Well, if the guy next to you is like abandoning ship because he doesn't understand 7-8, well then, you see what I mean? Like it ends up being stuff that maybe you should do later on, okay? So let's try that same exercise backwards. It's meant to simply expose you to as many possible variations, both regard to duplet rhythms and triplet rhythms. If you do that, how many things could anybody write that would be so different than that, right? And then you would prepare yourself a little more for the music, I think. All right? Okay, you guys want to play, you guys know anything? You guys seem all from the same group or not?
I think they're mixed. Mine's the bass line.
Well, obviously all
The guys are purposeful.
Okay. So what do you want to play?
I think we should play that exercise humor.
It's going to be ugly. All right? We're talking about ugly exercises. This is an ugly exercise. That's all we actually do. Let's try this one. So let me ask you a question. You guys can program. Do you guys play one stroke, 3 rebounds? And you know what? If somebody asks me a question, or if I get in a discussion, say me and Matt go out to dinner, and someone says, like, asks us a question about the philosophy of drumming, or like, what's your technique when it comes to drumming? Typically it's like a non-answer, because you know why? I don't get into arguments with guys about technique because it just takes too long. It takes so long to explain some of this stuff, right? One of the other concepts that might be a little different than the way we do it is the fact that when we control a note, only control the note to where the next note is going to be. Now listen to me say that. So if my next tap is here, then I'm only going to control to there. You would be amazed how many people control the note to a millimeter off the head and then turn again for the low note. Right? That is by definition inefficient. Okay, you understand what I mean? So when if I'm going to play like real full, then I catch the stick here and not here. So when I play this, you see that the level at which I'm catching it is where I'm playing the next note. So I can kill 2 birds with one stone. In other words, it's efficient, right? So you guys in the line, think about this. Think about the way this would feel. Play it at that level. We're going to play one of these, sort of the. Spaced triplets. Very difficult to do with keeping your hand at the same position, but you need to form a cradle in your hand, use the middle finger to sort of hold your stick up, and then relax everything. How many people play marimba? Right, you know when you hold 4 mallets, you notice that the middle finger is usually the thing that holds it against your palm, correct? So the other finger is sort of relaxed and they sort of surround it. But the meat and potatoes is your middle finger holds up your mouth, right? And I think it's somewhat similar in snare drum. I think your middle finger does hold up your stick, and everything else gently wraps around it. So use that concept. You can tell when I play this, it's kind of a loose, bouncy thing, but you don't see a whole lot of stuff coming off the stick. It's because it's relaxed in the first place. I'm forcing you to be in a situation where you're forced to go from one count to the next without having the option to re-grip it. So let's just do one count each, right? But I'm telling you, if you do put that together and you figure that out, then you will have learned something about your hands, and you will refine your technique. And you'll be able to incorporate degrees of rebound, and you'll be able to smooth some things out. All right? Can we just? I'm getting the high side there. We're done. Okay. So can we So this is, guys, relax a second. I just want to leave you with one more thing. All right. Look at all the stuff that's up there. But keep going, keep going. I know, it looks like a physics problem. And just, back it up a couple, all right there. That is kind of what some of our exercises look like these days. Crazy, huh? That's like a triplet independence exercise that teaches like, it's a crazy, it's all a way to free yourself in terms of like feeling the beat in certain ways and make you a little more even, right? So go 2 more. Okay, maybe back 1 and then we'll do these. All right, so here, this is a big deal. And this will be the last thing that we talk about, all right? If we've got, like, let's say we have auditions, right? And we have, like, what, 200 people or something trying out. And out of those 200 people, a lot of people can play. They're pretty good. But the fact is that you have to play together with them. See what I mean? So we do the audition process is typically the same. We go through an individual audition, right? You'll play one-on-one with me or Matt or another staff member, and you'll get completely evaluated by yourself, right? But the next half of the audition is you're put in together with other people. It doesn't really do us any good unless you can play with somebody else, right? So your ear training and your listening skills are enormous. I've seen players come out of the individual audition like in the top three, and not make the group. And I've seen a person who is kind of written off in the individual auditions make it to the end. Because that's how important your ears are. That's how important your listening skills are. Your ability to play and blend and match with somebody else that's what it's all about. I mean, that's the whole thing. All right? So there are 3 types of listening skills that I've just kind of like named up there. The first one is reactive, and that is kind of what you do as an audience member. Somebody plays something and you react to it. All right? The problem is when we get players in the line that have reactive playing skills. In other words, they hear themselves make a mistake and they're bothered by it and they kind of stop and they regroup it. Right? We all know that. Have you ever played a solo and made a mistake and kind of like wanted to get that one back and sort of stopped and backed up and redid it? That's a reactive listening skill. We need players that have the second one, proactive listening skills. In other words, you need to know what it, quote, should be, and you need to play what it should be, and not necessarily, see what I mean? You need to stay one tiny step ahead so that your listening skills provide you. Remember what, some of the clinics this morning were talking about your imagination. You need to create an imagination. You need to have an image of what the music should sound like in your head, and you need to live up to it. Right? If you get a full line of players like that, it's clean as a whistle. That's exactly what you want to do. Right? The last thing is selective listening skills. In other words, if it's a complicated piece and we got a quad part, then we need to line that up with the timpani part, and they're kind of. In other words, we can point out parts in the music where you can focus on certain aspects of the music, and you have strong enough listening skills so that you can detect those kind of things, so that we can get it together. Another reason why we don't have a million ducks out there. People selectively hear things in the music to use them to keep it together. All right? All right, and then you can read the rest. But the last slide will be the last one we'll leave you with, which is kind of my advice to you guys. All right? And this is practicing, learning music and practice methods. Okay? And this is the truth. I'm not trying to, I'm very sincere. You can tell that I'm sincerely trying to really share with you what we do. And I'm not trying to hide anything. But I really do think we learn music much of the time from the back to the front. Okay? And the reason is what I've stated. This will help you approach more familiar material instead of departing familiar material into no man's land. How many times have you learned a solo, right? You start playing it, and then all of a sudden you made a mistake, and what do? You go back to the beginning. You do it, and you kind of get a little farther, you go back to the beginning, get farther. Relatively speaking, the beginning of the chart has been played like 100 times more than the end. And so you're leaving really familiar material, and you're going off into less familiar material, and it gets weaker, right? We tend to do the opposite. We will start at the end, We'll do the last phrase, we'll back it up to the left, and then we're always approaching music that's more familiar. Does that make sense? And then the music will have inherently more direction to it. It'll just lead places. It's a huge thing, all right? The next thing is we outnumber the bad reps with the good reps. And I don't know anybody who really does this other than what we do, right? In other words, here's another typical thing that happens. You're going to learn a piece, you kind of blow it, or a phrase, you blow it, you kind of like, you know, you get it. By the time you get it once and you think, okay, I got it, good. Let's do it one more time for good measure. Right? That's a very typical thing. So that out of 10 times, you played it incorrectly 8 times, and you played it right twice. Okay? So what happens is you go into that performance, and then you know that you missed it 8 times. Right? What we end up doing is whatever amount of time it took us to get it, we will outnumber that amount of time with reps. And so you know, as a player, it's not a matter of if it's going to hit or not. It's going to matter how good it's going to hit. It's the no risk thing, right? There's no risks. We know it's going to be good because we put in the time to do that. In other words, we outnumber those bad reps so that we have total confidence in the fact that it'll happen. Imagine the way you feel as a player if you hit it like 9 out of 10 times. You'd go into the performance knowing that it's, you got like a 90% chance you're going to hit it. And it just inflates your confidence, it makes you feel better, it's more comfortable, right? And the last couple of things is, there are basically different ways to repeat things like that. And then modeling is a way that we play, we constantly play. Which is, a lot of times you can explain what's going on, but you know what? Sometimes you just got to play it and you got to listen to the guy playing it and just imitate it. Playing by rote, model, right? You know what I mean? Now just feel behind the claws and play it. Sound like that. That's kind of the direction. Sound like that. And then there'll be some questions, play it again. No, a little less. And then just a little bit back and forth. And then basically, you're learning it by rote. And then what we end up doing, and what I advise you, we do shorter practice sessions more often. We are not the group that sets up and plays with the Dr. Beat for 4 hours in a row. We don't do that. There's a limit to what people can do. Right? Our sessions are typically about 3 hours long, and it's sometimes they're about an hour and a half. Right? And we have a goal. We start to practice. We know what we want to get done. Once we get it done, we're done. There is an end to it. And it's incredible for morale. Don't you think it's kind of demoralizing to start rehearsal and not know when it's going to end. And just like, it's going to be this endless repetition, and you just like a big sigh, you're like, ah, man. Right? I would typically start a rehearsal and say, okay, we have until 6:15, and we're trying to get this, and this done. All right, ready? Everyone gets totally motivated. It's like a challenge to be able to get it done in time. And then once we're done, we pack it up. We come back. See what I mean? I think it's a little bit more efficient that way. Okay. Is there any other slides? I don't think
There's more about learning.
more stuff.
This is the last one.
Did you read any of that?
Go ahead.
The practice pads are crazy sometimes to me. I'm not against them or for them. I'm just making a point, the fact that we're dealing with music, and sometimes you practice on an instrument that doesn't make any sound. You know what I'm saying? Like you're practicing the whole time on a pad that really doesn't make sound. So, in other words, I would advise you at least limiting that to a certain extent. YouTube is a little bit of a dangerous place because a lot of times the things that get the most hits, right, are the most exciting things. And they'll be the things that are like the highest or the loudest or most exciting. And then that becomes what it's all about to you when like 80% of the music is not really like that. You see what I mean? So it's a little deceiving, so be careful about that. And then I guess the last one, the Dr. Beat, is one of the ones that we are very careful that you need to be the player that creates the time. You simply don't tag along to a metronome that's already playing for you. You have to create time out of nothing. And that is the biggest obstacle, and it's stuff that we spend the most time on, trying to develop feel and tempo and the timing of the group. Okay? All right, I hope this wasn't too much for you. I totally, fully realize that sometimes it is. Anybody have any questions about it? I feel like I need to tell a joke or something. No questions about anything? Thank you very much.